Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are live for another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2006. I should say it's NASCAR 06 Total Team Control, and we are set for the next race of the Do It For Dale Series Cup Series Edition. Chase race number 3 at, well, you see it in the title, Talladega Super Speedway for the running of the UAW Ford 500. Who will win at the baddest racetrack in NASCAR today and potentially help their chances of winning the championship in these final 8 races of the chase? 10 drivers still compete for the championship, 9 of which within 94 points of one another, and of course the top 5 all within 30 points of each other still, despite having 2 races already under our belts in the chase. 4 drivers have finished inside the top 10 in both races. 2 drivers don't have any top 10s in the first 2 races of the chase. And our driver, Dale Jr., coming off a 12th place finish at Dover just 2 nights ago in the Cup Series race. In that race, we ended up having a different type of a race. A NASCAR record 23 cautions in that one. We'll see what kind of a show this is going to be today. Hopefully the driving is a little bit cleaner, or at least better for that matter, and we don't have quite as many cautions as we saw, but it definitely made things unpredictable. And Talladega, what other track is more unpredictable than this one? Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into today's live stream. Of course, before we get into qualifying and get this race started today, we need to relive one moment that happened on the channel earlier this season. Last time we were at Talladega in the Cup Series on this game. Boy, was it a doozy. And I'll pull that up for you guys right now, as we have the closest finish in channel history and in NASCAR history as well. We're making history all over the sorts as far as NASCAR history on the channel this season in the Cup Series and our Do It For Dale. They'll be coming to the white flag, 2.66 miles away from the checker, and a win at the end of a 500-mile Talladega race. 10 cautions through all. It's going to end under green. Earnhardt on the inside of Busch, side by side. Edwards trying to go for his 3rd win in his rookie season. He goes to the bottom. He doesn't get underneath of Dale Jr. though. Busch clear on the back straightaway. Earnhardt trying to get a last surge of momentum as they go into turn 3. Edwards can't go with his teammate up high because Gordon is above him. Jr. is going to clear Kurt Busch through 3 and 4. Can he hold clear off the exit of the corner? Here they come to the stripe. All the way to the finish. 3 wide at the line. It is going to be Earnhardt. Oh my goodness. Dale Jr. is going to win at Talladega. There we go. I think I have the audio back on again. Hopefully the volume and everything was alright with that. Wanted to show you guys that finish because that could be a prelude to what could potentially happen today. And we have a lot more on the line, of course, because obviously we're in the playoffs, we're in the chase. Let's see if Dale Jr. can get the Talladega sweep. He had a 3-wide photo finish in the first race here earlier this season. Let's see what's going to happen in today's race. And we will get to watch qualifying here first. We have no clue where Dale Jr. is going to be starting. Let me know in the chat if the volume is alright on that. I was testing it before the stream started, but I wanted to make sure that you guys heard the commentary through and through, because we might have another dramatic race today. 3 wide, finish at the line. Yep, that was the last time we were at Talladega on this game and in the Cup Series, and we'll see if we get potentially the closest finish in NASCAR history again today. 2 laps for Dale Jr. to try and set the quick time and qualify himself on the pole. Trey's Rail Fanning, Dark Crypto, Asaya Z, Noah Hall, welcome to the stream, guys. Probably have some more people in the chat as well. I'll have to scroll up when I get done qualifying. That's all I see on my screen for right now, at least. But 2 laps, and this is not a race you're going to want to miss any of the action. My luck on the super speedways on the NASCAR EA Sports game is not great, but the fact that Dale Jr. was able to edge out and win that first Talladega race of the season has better hopes today than what maybe I'd say for Daytona on this game. But it is still not going to be any easy task. And with only a 2-point lead, you're going to want to lead as many laps as you possibly can. Junior led just 16 at Dover. It's good enough for 5 bonus points for leading at least 1 lap. He did qualify top 10 at Talladega earlier this year. If I remember correctly, I think he was 6th in qualifying in the first race. Lap 1, he's going to be just outside the top 10. 11th fastest on the first lap. Definitely going to want to pick it up on lap 2. Do not want to be mid-pack at all costs. Best place to be is up towards the front. A lot better on lap 2 for Dale Jr. than what it was on lap 1, and he may have a shot at the pole depending on how well he gets off the exit of turn 4. He's a bit wider than what he wanted to be. And he's got a lot of straightaway speed starting to scrub off his time on the second lap because he was tracking for the pole for about the first 3/4 of the lap. He definitely picked it up a little bit, but still in the position that he was in lap 1. So 11th fastest, and Jeff Gordon is going to be on the pole today as Jimmy Johnson will actually get the outside of the front row. So an all HMS front row here at Talladega. Kind of similar to what we see in qualifying in the Gen 6 era with Talladega and Daytona. It seemed like even in Gen 4 era on a video game, they still find a way to qualify in the front row and get the front row sweep. Corey Freet, welcome into the stream as well. Juanita Luna, also welcome into the stream. Charles Sasser, thanks for tuning in. Made some modifying adjustments with the setup coming into the race. You can't really do much to affect the downforce on the super speedways with the package that you automatically have to run on the super speedways, but I was able to adjust the gearing, so hopefully Dale Jr. could get better launches off the restart. He tried to make third gear a little bit longer. We'll hope that's going to work. Never really got a chance to test it out in practice. Green flag is going to be in the air. 500 miles and 188 laps at Talladega. Who can get through this race unscathed? Good start for Dale Jr. as he went 3 wide down to the bottom of the racetrack. Was able to pick up 2 spots initially. But by the time he's going to get up to speed on the back straightaway, it looks as if he's going to be right back to where he started in 11th place again. Tony Stewart's going to jump to the lead on both Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon at the front of the field. Dale Jr. still trying to get up to speed in turns 3 and 4. Contact with Mike Bliss. Bliss gets a little bit loose. Hangs on to it. Goes to show it's not going to take much contact to knock a car sideways today. Bliss lost a lot of momentum there as he had to hop out of line. And speaking of hopping out of line, it's going to be Dale Jr. moving to the outside to let Brian Vickers go so he can try to get a little bit of drafting help. Jeremy DeLay, welcome to the stream. So Tony Stewart leads lap 1 of 188 at Talladega today. We'll try to keep track of how many lead changes we have throughout the course of the race. Already won on the first lap with the pole sitter not leading the opening lap. Shane Beals lost the lead pack as well as the top 10 have kind of pulled away. One car is slow at the very back of the pack already on just lap 2. Tough break for whoever that is. So likely trying to get to pit road. Johnson leads lap 2. Stewart back to about third. Dale Jr. Little bump draft to Brian Vickers. That was unintentional. He kind of got into him. And one car's in the wall off the exit of turn 2 up ahead. That's going to stack some cars up. Dale Jr. saw that, so he hopped out of line behind Vickers and Meal. Makes a pass on both of them to move back inside the top 10. And hopefully close enough to draft behind Ryan Newman. He capitalized on that in a hurry. I think Greg Biffle got in the wall. Ryan Newman checked up to keep it himself from running into the back of Newman. That comment in the chat that people cannot see yet. Very random. Tag to the left rear corner panel of Ryan Newman's race car now. Accidental bump draft there. Jimmy Johnson does lead lap 3. R6, welcome into the stream as well. Newman running the outside lane, so that's where Dale Jr.'s having to run right in line behind him. The thing with qualifying 11th is that I don't think Dale Jr.'s got great single car speed. It seems like his single car speed's been better at Talladega, but not, or sorry, his single car speed was better at Daytona, but he wasn't as good in the draft. So the handling in the draft at Talladega is what led him to winning the race earlier this season, so kind of more reliant on that than the top end speed to qualify on the front row. Jimmy Johnson second in points, so him leading these laps would actually give him the points lead outright as of right now by about 3 points over Dale Jr. Middle of the race. Of course, as they run, Jr. would be more than that out because Johnson is leading, of course, and Jr.'s in 10th. But it puts even more pressure on Dale Jr. to compete for the win today, knowing Jimmy Johnson's up towards the front of the field early. Newman and Earnhardt catching up to the back of the lead pack in front of him. Dale Jr. pulls out of line in the tri-oval, makes a pass on Newman, and rides in line behind his teammate, Michael Waltrip. Waltrip, only 2 top 10s this season. He's had races where he has ran really well, but hasn't gotten great finishes in recent races. Started off pretty good at Richmond, but couldn't seal the deal. Ended up blowing an engine midway through the race while he was inside the top 3. Junior pulls out a line on his teammate Waltrip and takes it 3 wide to the inside underneath Kevin Harvick and Greg Biffle. Waltrip is going to follow the 8 car on the inside as he also takes it 3 wide. Now to side by side. And some reason there we go. Trying to get Michael Waltrip to work with Dale Jr. right now and have Waltrip follow the 8 car. Jr. clips the apron going into turn 1. Got to be careful. Don't want to do that. It's not as treacherous as Dover, but still treacherous on the faster tracks as we've seen this season. Yeah, that 1 car that's very slow is in danger of going a lap down somewhat soon. Dale Jr. sucking to the back of Mark Martin in the 6. A lot of chase drivers that qualified really well at the front of the field, but there's also a couple non-chase drivers in the top 10 early, like a Mark Martin, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Newman. 2 of the 3 have wins on the season. Junior's definitely really good in the draft. He gets major runs on the back of the cars in front of him. Might be hard trying to pass Carl Edwards. Edwards tried to wreck Dale Jr. at the end and actually succeeded in wrecking him towards the end of the Dover race. Jr. to the outside. Got squeezed. But even though he got squeezed, he's still going to get by Mark Martin on the top, and he drops in line behind Carl Edwards. Martin moves up to the outside as well. Mike Bliss was the car on the bottom of the track that has gone a lap down after a win, his first career win at that at Dover. Bliss is a lap down on lap 8 at Talladega, is when he had that contact on the opening lap down the back straightaway with Dale Jr. It seems that it has messed up something aerodynamically in the race car, or maybe even under the hood of the race car. Wonder if it caused him to miss a shift if he wasn't up to 4th gear yet at the time. Sam Modding, welcome to the stream. I did not get to watch the Xfinity Series race today, so I have no clue who won. Dale Jr. trying to work with Carl Edwards for now, at least until Edwards isn't a rival anymore, so it'll make a little bit more applicable for Dale Jr. to try and pull out and make a pass. So despite Stewart leading lap 1, Jimmy Johnson's led every lap from lap 2 through 9, as we are caution-free at lap 10. You can see how much separation there is on the track map right now between where the lead pack is, and really this lead pack's even strung out now. Mark Martin's starting to lose the top 5. It was a 10-car breakaway, and now it's down to about 5 cars. Carl Edwards to the inside of Tony Stewart as they run side by side through turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. staying behind the 99 as the 2 Hendrick cars are starting to pull away with the cars running side by side behind him. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson are working well together. Wade Zielinski, welcome into the stream. Martin starting to close back in slowly but surely once again. Dale Jr. definitely being very, very patient right now. I don't think you can blame Dale Jr. for doing this, because he knows when he pulls out a line, he's going to get swiped by Edwards. It's going to be pretty vicious contact, and it's probably going to turn Dale Jr. around at this fast of a racetrack. The problem is that rival indicator's not going down at all, even with the share draft. And that's kind of scaring me, and it's almost tempting Dale Jr. to make a pass on Edwards anyway, because he's been sitting behind him for 3 whole laps. And it has not budged. Edwards pretty tightly in line behind Stewart again. Junior looking high, fakes down to the inside as he gets underneath Carl Edwards. Edwards went to the outside himself. That allows Dale Jr. to clear Edwards. And now to the inside of Tony Stewart through turns 3 and 4. All clear, and Dale Jr. up to P3. Chevrolet runs 1, 2, 3, and 4 as Edwards tries to get underneath Stewart for 4th to break up the Chevy band of cars at the front of the field. His teammate Mark Martin is starting to lose the top 5 once again. Is all by himself with no drafting help both in front and behind him. And Junior's just close enough to get the draft off of Jeff Gordon in the 24. Gordon to the outside. Dale Jr. going to go with him. And Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Oh, trouble! Johnson is in the wall in the air as he is wrecked from the lead. Big crash for the 48 and cautions out for the first time. And hard into the inside wall, driver's side door first. Wow, what a wild ride by Jimmy Johnson. And somehow Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. just missed him to the outside as Dale Jr. started to check up there as well as Jeff Gordon, as Johnson just had a wild ride. It's like he had a tire go down or something. Vicious accident. Dale Jr. is going to take the lead as he stays out. Everybody else behind him pits. Green flag back in the air. Sayaz's life just flashed before his eyes. He's still in it, despite a couple of hard licks. One into the outside wall and all the way back down the track into the inside wall. With the green flag back in the air, Dale Jr. stays out to get track position. He leads this race. And trying to control the lanes on the restart as his teammate Michael Waltrip is starting to close in the 15 car. Johnson, despite wrecking hard, is going to get to the outside. He's in front of his teammate Jeff Gordon. And Jimmy Johnson's going to get to the lead again at Talladega. These guys do have fresher tires than Dale Jr., and that will matter because this is a much bumpier Talladega surface. Not like Talladega now. And that's probably why Johnson lost control of his car. I don't think he had a tire go down. I think it was just the bumps. And if you don't have a good handling race car, it'll play more of a factor here at this time period in Talladega than really any other. Dale Jr. crosses Jimmy Johnson over. His teammate Michael Waltrip right behind him. DEI trying to work together right now at the front of the field. Waltrip is going to work with Dale Jr. on the inside. Johnson thought about going down the block, thought better of it. I don't think I'm slow. I think Johnson's just that fast. Probably why he took the lead so quickly in the race. Great move by Johnson after Dale Jr. cleared him to move down in front of the 15. There was just enough of a gap between both Dale Jr. and Waltrip. Waltrip down on the inside again. Michael trying to have his best race of the season. Potentially get that first top 5. Well, everybody else pit outside of the 48 car. Outside of just the 48 car, and Johnson won the race off pit road, so that's why he still restarted in second. Which tells me he didn't really repair much damage. Good news for Mike Bliss. He got the free pass with that caution coming out, so he's back on the lead lap at the tail end of the field. That was big before he started going multiple laps down because he was very slow off the start. We'll see if he can stay in the pack this time. Carl Edwards squeezes on the bottom, barely above the yellow line on the inside to get by Waltrip. No out of bounds, though, at Talladega on this game. Dale Jr. halfway out of field at lap 20 for not pitting during the caution. And Johnson's starting to go backwards as Elliott Sadler's moved up in front of him on the outside, so maybe the damage is starting to catch up with the 48. Major championship implications with this single car wreck from the lead in shocking fashion in the opening 14 laps of the race. Dale Jr. trying to stay in front of Carl Edwards in the 99. Michael Waltrip still holding on to third back there, and Elliott Sadler, the newcomer, to fourth, with Johnson rounding out the top 5. Pack is a lot more bunched together now than what it was off the initial start. Edwards doesn't really have a lot of help from anybody directly behind him, so he can't get a major run right now on the 8 car. We'll see if something develops. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. Train fan, welcome as well. I think you've been in the chat, but thanks for everybody watching this stream. 20 people watching already. Only 10 likes. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already for more daily NASCAR content. We'll be doing live race commentary for tomorrow's NASCAR Cup Series race at Watkins Glen. And our coverage begins with our pre-race at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. The race will be on the USA Network for those that want to watch and listen along. And for those who can't watch at all, definitely listen in as well. It's maybe your only provider of the race. 38 car of Elliott Sadler made his way around Michael Waltrip, and Waltrip's actually 3 wide middle between the 48 and the 20 all of a sudden. Dale Jr. mirror driving as he's trying to get as many laps led as possible today. Xfinity race was a great race today. Sadler with a run. Hopefully this is going to be a great race today. Shocking start to say the least. I thought for a second that the 24 and the 8 were going to be caught up in that single car accident for Jimmy Johnson. the way he went up the track right in front of him, but he went back down the track so quickly after hitting the wall that the 24 and the 8 were, I mean, they were all right. They were able to stay high. Johnson slid back down the banking of the track, and nobody else was collected other than the 48. Elliott Sadler up to P2. He's down on the yellow line in the middle of turns 3 and 4 to try and get by Carl Edwards in the 99, but he has not cleared Edwards yet. Did mirror driving on Thursday at Talladega. Did mirror driving on my way home from work on I-75 today. I was kidding about that. I just felt like saying that randomly. I should start doing that for practice. Maybe I'll actually win the Daytona 500 one of these times on the EA Sports games. Maybe I'll actually win Daytona on the EA Sports games if I start mirror driving on the highway on my way home. Anybody that looks like they're going well above the speed limit, I just pull into the left lane and block them. They try to swing to the middle lane and block them. Practicing for Daytona. Dale Jr. looking like the Dale Jr. of old, leading Talladega right now. Johnson did lead quite a few laps at the beginning. Jr. trying to match that. Now, the only problem is everybody pitted behind the 8. So they're going to be able to go a little bit longer on fuel by about 13 laps or so, which means Dale Jr. is going to have to pit by himself, which is problematic. Sadler's got a run on the outside. Dale Jr. did not go all the way up to block it. He does block the 99 of Edwards. And Tony Stewart went to the bottom behind the 99 rather than staying behind the 38. You saw the momentum lost for Elliott Sadler with Stewart making that move to the inside. Works out for Dale Jr. Practice using the Intimidator. I'll just use my front bumper. I don't need a button. I'll just rattle their cages. Edwards taking a peek. Couldn't quite get to the left rear corner panel of Dale Jr. Michael Waltrip trying to get his way back up towards the front again. Good handling race car, both in traffic and in the lead, it seems, out of Dale Jr.'s race car. Again, it's very good in the draft. Not as fast single car speed, which is why it's so tightly packed together with the cars behind him. And a lot of the reason, too, is the pack has stayed a lot more bunched together this time than what they did off the initial start. Things are ramping up. We know the big one could strike at any moment. Nearly had one when Johnson spun from the lead. Luckily, everybody was kind of spaced apart. It was kind of a 5-car breakaway at that point that those 5 cars missed the 48. Johnson's lucky more cars weren't collected because it probably would have been more of a chance he would have DNF'd if it was the case. But you also wonder how many more hits that 48 car could take today if he gets involved in another accident. Knowing he took 2 big hits on that first wreck into, again, the outside wall, then sliding down driver's side door first into the inside wall. And speaking of Jimmy Johnson, he has gotten himself underneath the 99 of Carl Edwards and is looking for the lead again. To prove how fast these cars are going right now, Dale Jr., the leader with no drafting help in front of him, went 195 miles an hour on his corner entry into turn 3 that time. The draft, and everybody in the draft is all behind him. And they're running a bit quicker lap times than what the leader is. And obviously Dale Jr. not able to save any fuel as well out here. Trying to hang on to this track position for right now. He's got a quarter tank of gas left, but he's really not worried about fuel at this point in time with it being so early in the race. He's Just worried about trying to lead laps and hopefully lead the most laps. Yeah, real men use contact. That's a childlike button. Real man would Kenseth them into the wall like he did to Logano. That's a real man. Yeah, I'd probably say closer to 35 laps as far as green flag laps. Three wide for second. Ryan Newman trying to fight his way to the front for the first time. Carl Edwards still on the bottom. Newman in the middle. Jimmy Johnson up high, and Newman will slide up in front of the 48 car clear, and Johnson transfers all the way from the third lane on the top to the bottom, back to the top now, and now he's thinking about going up the middle three wide. Hole was there, so Carl Edwards moved up. Edwards was able to clear both the 12 and the 48. The 48 back in line behind the 12 of Newman. Massive run for Edwards. Not sure if he's still a rival or not. Dale Jr. staying away from him just in case. Door to door for the lead. I don't think he's a rival. It looks like he's neutral, thank goodness. Carl Edwards trying to get 5 bonus points for leading his first lap of the race. Dale Jr. gets a run in the tri-oval, looks to the inside. He doesn't want another chaser to lead a lap if he can help it. Jr. leads that lap at the line, barely. And Carl Edwards still looking for 5 bonus points. Oh, contact up the track. Big block gone wrong by Dale Jr. He slid up too early, and Johnson gets by to the lead on the inside. I don't know what happened in the pack behind them, but they scattered. I don't think that had anything to do with the block Dale Jr. had. And Jr. might be in no man's land now in 5th place because he's too far behind the top 4, and something happened to the field that last lap. That it was just a 5-car breakaway going into turn 1 in the first place. Junior will have to pit in a couple laps anyway, so I guess he won't have to ride around for too long and lose too much time. That was not ideal. Luckily, Dale Jr. didn't turn himself and he just kind of scraped the wall. Nothing too major with damage. Likely going to be right side tires only to try and minimize the amount of time on pit road so we can try and stay on the lead lap as long as possible in case we get another caution. Obviously, if we get another before he pits, he'll definitely pit during this next one. Then go 37 because of the caution. Just start bum drafting people on the highway. If they complain about it, just say you're saving fuel mileage. I'm trying to save fuel, man. Just start shutting your car off in the middle of the highway. Turning it back on. I highly recommend not doing that. I feel like that's gonna ruin the motor. Greg Biffle closing in quick behind Dale Jr. Jr. going to move up out of the way, let Biffle through so Jr. can draft in line behind him. I think Michael Waltrip's at 7th, the next car behind. So the goal is to draft behind Biffle, save just a bit more fuel so he can try to stretch this run out as far as he can. Hopefully try to cut into that lead just a bit before he pits also. There's another car down on the apron of the racetrack right now. That is pretty slow. But it looks like they're rolling fast enough that they're not going to necessarily pit this time, kind of similar to what happened to Mike Bliss earlier. And I am wondering if it might be Bliss again, potentially. Fuel indicator just went into dark red as Dale Jr. was entering turn 3, so he's going to go one more lap, and then he'll pit at lap 36. Not wanting to risk it another lap on fuel. So it looks like 33 green flag laps for Dale Jr. He'll pit next time by. Mike Head, welcome into the stream. Looks like Biffle and Earnhardt are slowly closing in on Ryan Newman, who also lost the lead draft. Every car that is in this race still is on the lead lap. Dale Jr. pulling out a line on Biffle. He'll make the pass for 5th, trying to get another spot here and carry that momentum without lifting going into 3 and 4. Trying to get a little bit off of Ryan Newman. Right front tire in the yellow, and Dale Jr. will pull the pit road this time. Can't lock the tires up because he's taking right sides only, and he can't speed either. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit, and he'll get down with these. Great job by Dale Jr. There was no practice before this race. So right side tires only for Earnhardt, full tank of fuel, no adjustments. This might loosen the car up a little bit with the old left sides. Did a great job not locking the tires up. Michael Head, welcome into the stream. I have come to the conclusion over recent streams that I believe Mike Head and Michael Head are the same person. Originally before they said no. But I find it coincidental that those two are only in the chat at the same time. And they seem to talk about the same stuff too, so that kind of gives it away. But I'll take 2 subscribers. I will take it. Jimmy Johnson still leads at Talladega. Dale Jr. has just completed his green flag pit stop. He's in the 41st place position right now. Bliss would have gotten the free pass, so there is one car out of the race. Not sure who it is exactly. And Carl Edwards going to get to the lead on Jimmy Johnson through turns 1 and 2 rather. Johnson did lead that last lap, so we'll see if Edwards can lead his first lap this time by and potentially get 5 bonus points. Dale Jr. getting up to speed right now. Hoping for the best. If we get another caution because he just pitted, he's definitely going to end up staying out to get back to the lead. Kicking down the highway. He's flipping 10 times. Barrel rolling end over end. What if I commentated my own car wreck on the highway? I probably wouldn't have the wherewithal to do that. I'm not that quick-minded. Not in that spur of the moment. It's something I'd have to pre-plan to be able to like think of that on the fly. Slide job! Just... He put it in the wall! Man, that took a dark turn quickly. "2 days to live." Thank goodness for safer barrier. Obviously, Dale Jr. doesn't have any drafting help, and he still has the older left side tires compared to the rest of the field, despite the fact his right side tires are fresher than the rest of the field. That might balance it out a little bit in comparison, but obviously no drafting help at Talladega. That means a little bit more than tires even at a bumpier surface. Although if you ask that to Jimmy Johnson, the way his race has started so far, I don't think he'd say the same thing. It still should be the case for the most part. Yeah, without safer barrier. This is true. I don't think I've ever seen safer barrier on a concrete wall on the highway ever. Nor will they. Bump drafting illegal on the highway? I would think so. I would imagine that's more than just a slap on the wrist. I think they would technically call that tailgating. That's probably what they would ticket you for, if I had to imagine. Like, they wouldn't call it bump drafting like in the court of law, but they would call it like tailgating, if I'm not mistaken. Trying to remember for my my time in driver's ed, my 2-week class in driver's ed from 8 years ago. Dale Jr. has to stay on the lead lap once Carl Edwards and the rest of the leaders close in on him. And that's so that way if a caution comes out, he could cycle back to the lead by just staying out again. He goes a lap down, he might as well pit because he's going to have to end up getting the free pass. Not sure who this driver is on the apron up ahead. We'll see if they're a lap down or not. Once Dale Jr. passes them, I think they're already a lap down. We'll see if it's Mike Bliss again. Bliss had a problem earlier in the race. And it is not. It is another Chase driver, Tony Stewart. And that was not for position, so Stewart's already 1 lap down. Now he'll go 2 laps down once Edwards gets by him off turn 4. So Tony Stewart having issues right now. Just like Mike Bliss did earlier. Bliss got the free pass. Unfortunately, Tony Stewart is 2 laps down. So even though he'd be the only car, you know, even 1 lap down, he would get the free pass, but it would take 2 cautions for him to get back on the lead lap the way things run currently. And that's not to mention if Dale Jr. goes a lap down before a caution, because then Jr. would get the free pass, not Stewart. Stewart would still be 2 laps down. Plus green flag pit stops perhaps in the race could trap some drivers, so it is going to be very interesting to see how this is all going to play out. Definitely had some issues with some Chase drivers today. Bliss got a get out of jail free card. The community chest. Tony Stewart on the other hand, not so much, and obviously Jimmy Johnson lost the lead after wrecking. Got it back for a brief moment, but now is no longer the leader. It is Carl Edwards. Edwards of the run, looking high. Junior up to block. And plenty of time to do so as he tries to stay in front of the 99 in case we get another caution. Doesn't want to lose all the track position. I mean, out of technicality, he's lost it right now, but one quick caution, he'd get it right back, assuming the rest of the field will pit. And if they don't pit, then Junior's just going to top off. That'll be in the same predicament they are right now. Plus, he could take left side tires because he took right sides only during the green flag stop to try and buy him a little bit more time. Red Wolf 1, welcome to the stream. I don't drink. Won't be seeing any alcoholic consumption from me on this channel. I was speaking Monopoly. I was hoping somebody got that reference. Around lap 50, the field's going to pit. Yeah, that's what I'd assume. Because lap 13 was a caution. We went green at lap 16 after the one yellow from Johnson. I think Jimmy's still in second. And we've got our first set of drivers actually pitting right now at lap 46. And Michael Waltrip is one of the cars about to enter pit road in the 15. So Waltrip's in. Wonder if this is Tony Stewart again up at the front of the field. And that is actually Mike Bliss. I think Bliss was just coming out of the pits. So Bliss is a lap down again. But this is because he had pitted the lap before. So he was actually the first car to hit the pits at lap 45. Lap 46, we saw a lot more cars come in. Dale Jr.'s hoping Carl Edwards pits sometime soon so he doesn't have to battle him anymore. Although it is nice having drafting help with the 99 there. But it's such a risk of going a lap down with the leader right on your back bumper. It's got to be nerve-wracking. Up high to block at the start-finish line. More cars going a lap down as we speak. Definitely got to watch the lap cars down at the bottom of the racetrack as well. There's Michael Waltrip. Dale Jr. going to cycle in front of his teammate. Waltrip was in the top 10 earlier. So Jr.'s getting back up most of the way through the field, it seems. Currently in 32nd. But a lot more cars are in the pits and a lot more still to come. Am I okay for my flips? The virtual one at Dover a couple days ago, yes. A-okay. See Bobby Labonte's still upset. You would have thought after him flipping us at Dover in the last race that he wouldn't be a rival anymore, but that's not the case. Carl Edwards just pitted that last time by. Jimmy Johnson now is in the race lead. We've got cars getting up to speed into turns 3 and 4 just up ahead that Dale Jr. is closing in on. He's got Ryan Newman in the 12. He's going to pick up in the draft. Newman's going to get up to speed at the perfect time that Dale Jr. never had to check up behind him, and now he's got a drafting partner again. So that couldn't have worked out any better for Earnhardt. So draft behind the Rocket Man. Truex in the pits this time, so is race leader Jimmy Johnson. I've never been in a flipper. Well, I actually have in go-kart racing twice growing up. I will say I was okay. I was probably concussed the second time. And it looks like there was trouble in turn 3 the last lap, but no caution came out. There's a lot of hazy smoke up there. And Terry Labonte now is the race leader as he stays out of the pits another lap. The Iceman out in front. Texas Terry. Leader's trying to cycle through. Newman and Earnhardt catching the two cars in front of him. Looks like Casey Mears, and I'm not sure if that's Greg Biffle also up ahead. Dale Jr. got underneath Ryan Newman that time, maybe a little too early. Earnhardt back inside the top 10. And he'll cycle right back in line behind Newman on the back straightaway. Wasn't looking to pass him that time. Doesn't like running the top side. Newman moves down to the bottom. Feel very spaced apart after green flag pit stops. Terry Labonte's still in the lead, but he'll lose it this time by whoever the first place car is. If I had to guess, it's probably Carl Edwards. Will be the new leader, and no, it is Jimmy Johnson. So Johnson had a faster pit stop than the 99 car, and he was able to cycle out in front of him. By pitting a couple laps after one another. And Johnson was actually the latter of the two to pit. A little bit of a gap between the 12 and the 8. Junior pulling out of line. You saw Casey Mears move underneath Greg Biffle. That was his opportunity to move out of line and still stay in the draft. Mears stays behind Biffle, and Dale Jr. back inside the top 5. Junior carries a run to the outside lane. Washed up a little bit too much. The bumps really threw him up the track when he tried to make that drastic move in the middle of the corner. I think that's what happened when he tried to make that block on Edwards earlier. That's why he put himself in the wall. And he about put himself in the wall again. Stayed in the gas, though, and drove right out of it. And we'll see if this 4-car group can catch the leaders who are nearly side by side. They're definitely not single file with one another, and they're catching a lap car just up ahead. Maybe Tony Stewart in danger of going a 3rd lap down. Casey Mears jumping out of line, down on the bottom, getting a push from Dale Jr. Will he get underneath the 16 of Biffle? He looks to be there. Side by side, slow car in the middle of the corner right now is going to hold up the leaders who just came out of the pits. Dale Jr. got loose down on the apron. He slides and around he goes. He tried to hang on to it. He couldn't do it. He's going to keep it off the wall. Caution's out. And Dale Jr. is now going to lose all that track position. He was on the apron a little too long. He saw the lap car that was about to slow him up, and that's why he tried to go low to miss him onto the apron, but in doing so, he had accidentally spun. And now Dale Jr. is going to have to go to the back, bringing out the caution. Oh, Kyle Busch, my bad. Yeah, not Terry Labonte. Kyle Busch would have led in the 5-car. My bad. I had flashbacks to NASCAR 05 there for a second. So the rookie Busch led. Green flag back in the air. That's a good caution for Tony Stewart. He's going to give one of his 2 laps back. The green flag is back in the air. There's no damage. I still spun out. Dover was a one-time thing. Hopefully Tony Stewart's going to be right back up to speed again. Dale Jr.'s not getting up to speed as quickly as I would have hoped. I was hoping those gearing adjustments were going to help him out. I don't think it really did. Field's getting checked up right now. I don't know who that slow car is, but he's definitely stagnating the field off turn 4. You can see them wildly bunched together, and they are very slow in the tri-oval. My goodness, Dale Jr. making passes without any drafting help on the inside. He's going for it into turn 1. 4 wide to the inside at Talladega. He goes down to the apron. He slides. That's a slide job right there. Oh my goodness. Deep dive in the corner. He held on to it. Merges back in the pack. And still gets around half the field. Oh, McMurray almost pulled into the side of Dale Jr., who was up to 18th after restarting 41st. And Edwards is out in front following the restart. NPC, welcome to the stream. Well, I didn't have any damage from the incident, so that's why it didn't pit me. So all I selected was to repair. One car pulling out of line. Dale Jr. going to give a quick bump draft down the back straightaway to Ricky Rudd. As they work together, getting by Casey Kane and Jeff Green for that matter, who's on the inside. Joe Nemechek trying to block Rudd. Lap 60 in the UAW Ford 500 at Talladega on NASCAR 06 Total Team Control in our Do It for Dale Cup Series season. Our 3rd race of the chase. And Dale Jr. can see his teammate Michael Waltrip just up ahead. And he's going to pull out a line on the back straightaway to get underneath Rudd and Nemechek. Quickly side drafts Nemechek. He's in line behind Rusty Wallace. Gets to the inside of Wallace barely into turns 3 and 4. Waltrip, moves down in front. Wallace tries to take Dale Jr. out. He knocks him onto the yellow line. Jr. slides. And I think he got straightened out by the 21 car Rudd. And now Rudd's in the wall with Nemechek. That was all Rusty Wallace's fault there. I didn't realize he was a rival. And now Junior's 3 wide middle after getting checked up. I remember Kurt Busch as a rival. Dale Jr.'s trying to stay in front of him. Kurt's coming up the inside. He may try to take a swing. Oh, Jared about wrecked. Jared got in the wall off turn 2. Junior just stays in front. Kurt Busch quickly drops behind Casey Kane. Gives him a push. Middle of the corner might be dangerous. Really trying not to let Kurt Busch underneath him. He's going to let Kurt go. He got out of the gas, and he was not taking any risks. It looks like Kurt Busch is a neutral driver again anyway, so Junior gave up that momentum for nothing. .43 making a block. Chopping off Junior's run on the outside. Trying to get back down to the bottom. I think that's Jeremy Mayfield in the 19. It was there, but Junior just got down to the inside in time. He's got a rocket ship on the back straightaway to pull by the 97 and the 38 as well to lead the pack into 3. The pack from 16th on back at least. Jeremy's talking nonsense in the chat. At least Junior's car handles well on the outside. Dale side drafting Kurt Busch. Pulling him back just a bit. It was Kurt Busch, Dale Jr., and Matt Kenseth who were in that 3-wide finish in the first Talladega race. Oh, Junior moved down too quickly. Got into Sadler. Got into the wall. He thought there was a hole and he waited just a little too long to make the move. Jeremy Mayfield's got a lot of damage. I'm not sure what from. Trying to hang on. His tires are old, especially the left sides. He hasn't changed them from the start. Junior moved down in front of Mayfield and hangs on to it again. Junior's got to be careful. He may wreck himself one of these times. Making those risky blocks. Well, the car underneath him, he's just going to stay high this time. Dale Jr.'s holding everybody up with these bad blocks. Including himself, as he's now 12.5 seconds off the lead in 18th. Sad part is he was up to 7th before Rusty Wallace sideswiped him in the middle of the corner and got Earnhardt a bit loose and knocked him back. Definitely wore out Dale Jr.'s tires even more. So now he'll just sit behind Jeremy Mayfield and just try to sit tight and draft behind him. Everybody stayed out of pits during the second caution. We've had 2 yellows so far today. 2 single car spins. No multi-car accidents. A couple hard licks for Johnson in his single car spin from the lead. 4 tires in the yellow right now for Dale Jr. You wonder if he's going to make a 4-tire stop the next time. The problem is he's so far off the race lead, he might lose a lap if he goes with 4 tires on the next pit stop. But he might have to do it because when he spun, he definitely wore out the right sides a bit more than what he did in the first run when he kept the car clean. Billy Carjoy, welcome into the stream. Junior Mayfield running faster than race leader Carl Edwards because they were 12.5 seconds back. Now they're down to 11 seconds off the lead. I do believe that slow car that's down a cylinder might have held them up a couple laps ago too, because the 19 and the 8 are slowly closing in on him. Mayfield's going to check up. Junior gets underneath. And it's the 40 of Sterling Marlin. So Marlin is the car that's well off the pace right now. Junior gets by Mayfield for 17th, but he's lost his drafting partners. Mayfield got stuck on the outside behind the 40 on the back straightaway. And 20 laps to go at Talladega. Well, we haven't seen 8 wide yet. We've seen 4 wide once. I'm sure we'll see it again knowing it's Talladega. Sure we haven't seen the last caution yet. I don't remember exactly how many cautions we had in the first Talladega race earlier this season. I'd imagine we probably had at least a handful. No hidden escape. I don't know if we'll have 23 like we did at Dover again, but I'd imagine that we haven't seen the last of the 2 yellows so far. Signed up for. Lap 71. Mayfield's caught back up to Dale Jr. Jr.'s just going to stay in front of him, though, because he's going to end up pitting pretty soon. The plan is going to be to pit at lap 72 for Earnhardt. Looks like Mayfield's just going to get underneath Dale Jr. regardless off the exit of turn 2. Jr. having to run the outside in the back straightaway. Jeremy Mayfield underneath him. Jr. will stay out this time. It'll pit the following time by lap 72. And once he pits, the rest of the field will probably follow within the next probably dozen laps roughly. Just about how that first fuel run went for Earnhardt. Now he's having to deal with worn tires, or at least more worn tires this time into the pits than the first time, because those left sides have not been changed yet, but the right sides have. Dale Jr. pulling out of line on Jeremy Mayfield's a little bit too far behind the next car in front. Trying to draft off of him. Barely getting the draft, at least initially going into turn 3 on Joe Nemechek. So Dale Jr. pitting from 17th right now, 4 tires and fuel. He's going to try not to lock the tires up as he's going to go left sides only. So left side tires only for Dale Jr. And no adjustments. Full tank of fuel. So just like he took right sides the first time, he'll take left sides this time. Those right sides have gotten a little bit more wear with that spin he had earlier in the run, but luckily he didn't hit anything in the spin. And off and away goes the 8 of Dale Jr. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. That's why he took left sides only, because if he took 4 tires, he was probably going to end up going a lap down. And he may go a lap down regardless, because the leaders are coming as Dale Jr. is still trying to get up to speed in turns 1 and 2. Towards the outside of the racetrack is Carl Edwards and Ryan Newman, and Dale Jr. is a lap down at Talladega as he's trying to get up to speed. Didn't want to pull up in front of him and risk getting in a wreck. Better safe than sorry. He is the first car 1 lap down, so that's good. Hopefully he can get a drafting partner. Trying to slow up Greg Biffle with a little side draft as he's trying to get up to speed through turns 3 and 4. And he'll clear Biffle in the middle of the corner. So Biffle's going to lose Bobby Labonte and Jimmy Johnson. Now Dale Jr. will move up in the middle of the tri-oval. He'll let Biffle down to the inside so he can try and draft behind him. And hopefully try to get to the front before the leaders pit. So if caution comes out, Dale Jr. is going to lose all track position. The hopes is that it stays green, because he does have drafting help coming out of the pits, and he did take 2 tires. Do a backflip if I win. I'm not Carl Edwards. I don't think you want to see me do a backflip. Unless you want to see me die, or break my neck, or both. Death by broken neck. I think we've had a talk about this before. I feel like there was another stream a while back, and this was a little while ago, but this feels like a deja vu moment where somebody said it, if I win. I think it was when I was driving as Carl Edwards in the Truck Series. I think that's what it was. I'm driving as Carl Edwards in the Truck Series, and someone's like, if you win the championship, you have to do a backflip. And I kind of got up on my seat faking like I was about to do a backflip. I didn't do it. Obviously, for obvious reasons, I didn't want to do it. Greg Biffle staying in the gas right now. Bobby Labonte moves down to block him in the middle of the corner. That was a major block by Labonte. Jimmy Johnson got held up on the outside behind the 40 of Marlin, who's down a cylinder and has been for a long time. And now Biffle and Labonte are locking bumpers. Earnhardt trying to stay close to the 16. Lap 76 right now. Edwards still in the lead. Dale Jr. drafting behind Bobby Labonte. Moves up behind Biffle again. Now back to the inside on Labonte because Labonte stays low. This is a chance to get around Biffle. And Dale Jr. will work with Bobby Labonte because he's a rival right now. And chance to patch this relationship up like he already did with Kurt Busch earlier in the race. Also with Carl Edwards. I don't think there's any other rivals in the field for Dale Jr., so this will be the last one. He could just draft behind the 18 car. Try to catch the top 3 because Bobby Labonte's in 4th. And Labonte needs a good run. He's finished outside the top 10 in the first 2 races, including outside the top 30 in the last race. He's 166 points out of first for Dale Jr. coming in. Jr. is a lap down right now. That would help. The problem is there's so many drivers in such tight point increments. It's not the fact that Labonte's 166 back. It's the fact that he's got 9 drivers between himself and Jr. So just because Jr. may not finish good or isn't running well now, if Jr. doesn't get a good finish, so he catches up on him, and Jr. only had a 2-point lead anyway. Do it for Dale. Welcome to the stream. Hoping to at least be neutral with Labonte. by the time these two stop share drafting with one another. "25 viewers currently watching, 19 likes. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already." Still in the first half of our 500-mile Talladega extravaganza. In our third chase race of the NASCAR 06 Do It for Dale Series season. Juanita Luna, welcome to the stream. Saw you were in the chat beforehand. Thanks for tuning back in. Carl Edwards kind of in a league of his own right now. Jimmy Johnson led at the very beginning of the race, looked strong, wrecked from the lead. Junior looked strong when he was out in front. Now the 99 of Carl Edwards is out in the lead. Junior's found himself back in traffic on an alternating strategy right now, as during that first caution of the race, he had pitted, or he had stayed out when everybody else pitted. And a bad second caution ended up kind of trapping him back in the field. The rest of the leaders will have to pit, and I should say everybody on the lead lap is going to have to pit relatively soon. Junior's the first car, one lap down in 40th. I think that's Ryan Newman and Jeff Gordon working together. We're still losing the 99 of Carl Edwards. Gordon potentially pulling out a line, trying to get to the inside of Newman through turns 3 and 4. And they are side by side. Junior pulling out a line on Labonte down to the bottom. Now that they're not rivals anymore, trying to get a draft off Gordon as he's still on the inside of the 12 of Newman, and Junior clears Labonte in the tri-oval. Great move. He's trying to hurry up and get to the back of Gordon before Newman slides down. Michael Waltrip is going to pit this time. Got a couple cars that have already hit pit road. One car is cycling out of the pit lane down on the bottom of the track. Gordon up to second as he has cleared Ryan Newman with the help from Dale Jr. Sometimes you got to work with your chase enemies right now. Oh, Gordon checks up. He's in the wall, and he is nearly around. Not quite. Big stack of Gordon lifted with the lap car on the bottom of the track when he didn't have to. He just had to go to the outside, but he lifted instead right in front of Dale Jr. Caused both cars to get up into the wall. We stay green, and Junior's going to lose a lot of track position. More than what he would have already lost. That was unbelievable. I don't know why Gordon lifted that much, and he's probably going to be a rival now with Dale Jr., even though that was all Gordon's fault. Casey Mears, Michael Waltrip on the bottom. Jr. gets around both of them. Jimmy Johnson up on the outside. Johnson not going to be able to pit this time. Hopefully he didn't want to pit. Well, now he's going to get down in front of Dale Jr., so we'll see if he does. Nope, he'll stay out. Ryan Newman will take his first lead of the race as Edwards pit that last time by. Dale Jr. got up into Johnson, knocked him into the wall. He got loose. He clipped the apron when he got to the inside of the 48. That's what sent him up into the 48. Newman stays out again. Caution comes out. It's going to trap a lot of cars a lap down. And Junior isn't the first car lap down either as we run. There's some cars that already came out of the pits in front of him. So he's going to give up the bottom in turns 1 and 2 in the hopes that Casey Mears will get by. And he could try to draft behind Mears. Mears is already pit too. Newman pits from the lead. That will give Kevin Harvick his first lead of the race. Cars coming out of the pits, down on the bottom of the racetrack. Slow car of Sterling Marlin on the outside. His teammate Casey Mears checks up behind him. Junior gets around Mears as Mears is stuck behind Marlin, and Dale Jr. is not quite close enough behind Rusty Wallace, unfortunately. But Wallace is going to catch the lap car coming out of, or lead lap car, I guess, coming out of the pits on the bottom. And that's going to allow Dale Jr. to catch up to Wallace that way. And it was Jimmy Johnson who was coming out of the pit lane. Cycles in front of the 2 and the 8. Junior lifted a bit just to keep it off of Wallace. Yeah, I'll just walk my 11.5-hour drive to Kansas. Probably take me a couple days. I'll make sure I leave on like a Tuesday. I can get there a day before the race. I'd probably walk like a half hour and be like, yeah, this is nuts, and then I'd probably just try to hitchhike the rest of the way. Rusty Wallace tried to sideswipe Dale Jr. earlier in the race. I guess this is another rivalry Dale Jr. is having to patch. They work together to get by Jimmy Johnson. A lot more cars in the pits as we speak. Haven't had a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops at this point. Kevin Harvick is still the leader. A lot of cars are lapped down as we run. Saw Truex just coming out of the pit lane. Sadler down on the bottom coming out of the pits. Dale Jr.'s moved his way most of the way back through the field. Getting by Ricky Rudd. Jeff Gordon in the 24 is very mad. Junior will fly by him and hopefully try to stay in front of him. Johnson going to get in front of his teammate as well. Jeff Gordon lifted. I'm staying by. That was all Gordon's fault. Harvick will pit from the lead. That'll be an eventual spot once Dale Jr. cycles back around the next time by. And there's another car coming out of the pits up ahead that will be a spot as well. So Junior should be back inside the top 10. So he's gained quite a bit of track position. He might not be able to take the fuel tank quite as far this time, though, because he took left sides only, and those right sides were already pretty worn out from the slide he had earlier. Another car coming out of the pits. That's Kurt Busch in the 97. That's another spot. Harvick in the pits. There may be another car on pit road behind him for position as well. I'm not entirely sure on that, but Harvick definitely would be a spot. And obviously Rusty Wallace a spot right in front of Dale Jr., so potentially 8th place up for grabs, but he doesn't plan on passing Wallace. Harvick coming out of the pits. He'll lose the lead just past the start-finish line, and he'll give the lead back up to Carl Edwards. Andretti was a spot. Junior hasn't quite hit halfway out of fuel yet. He's hoping the handling, assuming that right front, maybe even the right rear as well, is going to get into the rut. He's hoping the handling's still going to be there. Yep, you're right. Rusty Wallace not a rival anymore. And Dale Jr. never even caught Kevin Harvick, so that was a pretty fast stop by the 29 crew. Although Talladega is a 2.66 mile racetrack. And Wallace and Earnhardt weren't quite up to him yet. Dale Jr. still in 9th. He'll take that, though. He's worked his way up quite a bit. Still 100 laps to go out of 188 from the start of the race. Still not quite halfway. Still 2 to 3 more pit stops left the rest of the race to try and gain time. Everybody's pitted 3 times except for Earnhardt has pitted twice. Junior did not pit it during any of the 2 cautions for incident. Hi, Steven King 92 Hammer. Welcome to the stream. Deal with a headache all day? Well, hopefully your headache will go away watching this. Or it might hurt your eyes a little more because you're watching a screen with bright lights on it. Junior's about 10 seconds off the lead. He gained a little bit of time even after that contact he had with Jeff Gordon when Gordon checked up in front of him. These guys are probably going to catch Sterling Marlin from time to time as well, so Junior's going to have to be able to look out for that. He's just got to hope he doesn't pull too far ahead of the car he's trying to pass at the time of him catching Marlin. We have not gone through a field pass yet today, so we'll do that for the first time. Once we get to the start-finish line, we'll have our first field pass of the day. And we'll see where Martin Truex Jr. and Michael Waltrip are at in the field. Allergies are a pain. I agree with you 100%. And we'll go to Michael Waltrip in the 15 car, who is currently in 15th place. Barely in the drafting vicinity right now of Ricky Rudd. Waltrip was up as high as 2nd in the very, very beginning of this race. Waltrip's got a massive run underneath Ricky Rudd. Just got underneath him. Into turns 3 and 4. Went down to the apron to make sure he was going to clear Rudd for 14th place, and now drafts behind Casey Mears in the 41. See if we can get Waltrip inside the top 10 before we transfer back to Truex. Be ideal if Waltrip could get up to Dale Jr. and then the 15 and the 8 can work together, but I don't think I'm going to catch those guys. They're about 4 seconds ahead yet. I mean, I could if I ran for about 20 to 30 laps, but even then, Dale Jr. might pit before then anyway. Definitely before 30 laps, but I don't even think he can go another 20 laps on fuel. He last pitted at lap 72. Doubt he can even make it to lap 110 before he has to pit for his 3rd time today. Even if a man cuts him off in real highway, send him to the shadow realm. Oh my goodness. You bump draft on the highway too? Hey, if that doesn't intimidate somebody, I don't know what does. This 41 car has some very good underrated speed. And I wouldn't count Casey Mears out of it if things go his way in the late going. Only 12.7 seconds off the lead now. I think Edwards might have gotten held up this lap, though, by Marlin, if I had to imagine. Waltrip gained about 0.8 of a second through turns 1 and 2 alone. Bum draft shopping carts. Fuel mileage is different in 05. It may be a bit different from NASCAR 05 to Oh, this is 2005. My bad. Compared to the Gen. So yeah, you're right for sure. I thought you were talking about the last gameplay series, the classic games. I was gonna say, oh, it's relatively the same. I didn't think it was that different. I see what you're saying now, though. Go 2 more laps with Michael Waltrip. A lot of cars being held up by the 40 of Sterling Marlin right now. Will lead Michael Waltrip to pull out a line on the 41 of Casey Mears. One car checked up. It was Jeff Gordon that's going to send the 15 and the 24 in the wall on the outside. Heavy contact between Michael Waltrip and Jeff Gordon as we continue to stay green. Cars blistering by all the way around. Dale Jarrett almost sideswiped Michael Waltrip as well. Major contact between the 15 and the 24 cars. Waltrip went for it underneath Gordon and he clipped the apron and shot right up into him. It didn't look like Gordon gave him a lot of room. It's almost like Gordon tried to throw a block on Waltrip and Waltrip just kept going down. And obviously he was never going to make the corner cutting it that low. And he lost a lot of time. But no caution came out for it. We continue to stay green. That could have been the shot that would have got Waltrip back inside the top 10 too, unfortunately. He's going to draft with Nemechek. He's going to try to hope that Truex will follow him. Drafted with Nemechek. Well, unfortunately, because he fell so far back after the contact with Gordon, he's going to catch Sterling Marlin again as he blows by Nemechek on the outside. Marlin's all over the place. He's run top, bottom, it doesn't matter. 3 wide behind him. And Waltrip in 17th going to pull away from those 3 cars that were in the draft with him. Sterling Marlin doesn't know what lane to run despite the fact he's down a cylinder. He continues to space the pack out at Talladega. The more spaced apart these cars get, the less likely a caution would be of coming out. I think my car would make it on the banking, if that's what you're asking. I mean, if a pace car could do it at 70 miles per hour, I don't see why my car can't do it. My car's pretty light, so it's not like it would topple over. It sits pretty low to the ground. I'll have a lot of downforce. Bike race. They'd have to do it on the apron. There's no way on a bicycle you'd be able to pedal in the middle of these corners. Way too much banking. I wouldn't get up to like full speed though. My car, I don't think my car could hit 200. I don't trust it to. It's kind of old. It's 2004. It's not like I remodel it on a regular basis. We'll go to Martin Truex Jr. this next lap. 88 laps to go at the line as of right now. Unfortunately, I do think that Dale Jr. got held up behind Marlin, and he was in that pack ahead of Waltrip and Gordon when Waltrip and Gordon made the contact they did. Truex is going to get on by Mayfield for a spot. Next position up ahead would be Michael Waltrip. And Waltrip seems to be pretty slow by himself right now because Martin Truex Jr. is closing in quickly on his teammate. Well, if my car was heavier, it would just... If it was heavier and taller, it would have more of a chance of, like, toppling over. And oh, well, I didn't mean to do that. Double swap. Oh. Michael Waltrip, Martin Truex Jr. are going to work together. At least 2 DEI teammates have found each other. You hope at some point they can both get towards the front with Dale Jr. No guarantees that that would happen, but that would be the hope. Wonder if Truex or Waltrip could get a win before the season's out. That's probably their best chance, especially for Waltrip. Truex has had good runs, but in his rookie season, if he could just get the Rookie of the Year, that would be good enough. It's a strong rookie class, too. If he can beat out Kyle Busch for the Rookie of the Year, that'd be impressive. Considering Kyle Busch is in the 5 car at Hendrick Motorsports. It's definitely better equipment than the DEI 1 car. 2 more laps will go back to Dale Jr., who is probably going to be pitting sometime soon, I would have to imagine, by the time we swap back to him. I'd fall off my bike, too. You'd have to pedal so fast. Like, absurdly fast. To make the banking in the corner. And you'd have to lean perfectly, too. Even a motorized bike would be so hard to ride. That much banking. Like, you'd almost have to literally be, like, on your kneecap. I mean, think about it. Even, like, the MotoGP races, those guys are on flat tracks most of the time, or very little banking. It's not like this. Michael Waltrip, Martin Truex Jr. 23 seconds off race leader Carl Edwards. I still doubt that this race will stay green to the end. If we go only 2 cautions this entire race, and both in the first 50 laps, that would be something. Definitely the longest green flag run of the day so far. We have not had the trivia question yet on the channel tonight. I will pause it as soon as we go back to Dale Jr. Truex pulls out of line to make the pass on the 15. It seems like Waltrip wants to work with Truex currently. Despite the fact Truex has passed the 15. There we go, now it'll work. So they're a little less than 23 seconds off the lead now. We'll go back to Dale Jr. at the start-finish line, and I'm sure Dale Jr. will be pitting very, very soon. As he sits in 9th. Pause it for a quick second. I will get that trivia question for you guys. Try to find a Talladega track fact. All right. I think I found the question. Yeah, I've definitely found the question. I'll prepare you right now that it is not going to be very easy. But I do have a hint for you guys. So today's trivia question on the channel is a Talladega track fact. Who were the two drivers to lead the most laps in the NASCAR Cup Series races at Talladega that had the most lead changes? So again, 2010 fall and 2011 fall races each had 88 lead changes. Who led the most laps in both of those races? It was two different drivers. So who led the most laps in both of the two races with the most lead changes in NASCAR history? And sorry, it was spring races. 2010 spring and 2011 spring, not fall. So 2010 spring, 2011 spring Talladega races. Who led the most laps in both? I'll give you a hint at lap 110. And I'll give the answer at lap 115 if we don't get the answer before then. Dale Jr. underneath Kurt Busch. Lifted just a bit. Kurt squeezed him initially going into the corner. He's trying to find a way to break up the 97 and the 48. Side drafted Kurt off the exit of turn 4. Drops back in line behind him. Middle of the tri-oval again pulls out of line on Busch. Again side drafts him, trying to get around the 97 car. Johnson pulls down just a bit. That's going to allow Dale Jr. to move past Busch for 8th place. Jr. will stay out of the pits this time, and he'll pit the following time at lap 109 will be the plan. Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton. Wade Selinsky, you have gotten the question correct. I didn't think anybody was going to get it on the first try. I was expecting to have to use my hint. My hint was going to be they both drove for RCR at the time, but Clint Boyer and Jeff Burton is the answer. Yeah, I did not think anybody was going to get that quickly. Junior with a run on the back straightaway, pulling out a line on Jimmy Johnson. He'll make the pass for 7th. All clear of the 48 car into turns 3 and 4, and Junior will pit this time by. He'll take right side tires only. He has really managed those right sides very well, despite the fact that they were pretty old. Now he'll go right sides only, and the left sides are going to be old to the end, so he's got to make sure not to speed. He does speed. Oh, what a costly penalty for Dale Jr. A pit road speeding penalty at Talladega, as he was about 4 miles per hour over the speed limit when he hit the commitment line. And despite going right sides only, this is going to be a pretty long pit stop. It's a 5-second penalty in this game. He was trying so hard not to lock the tires up. He didn't lock the tires up, but because he didn't get the car slow enough, he ended up speeding. This is the 3rd green flag stop of the day for Junior, but it's the first speeding penalty. And 3 for 3 on his pit crew with the pit stops, and this is going to put Junior a lap down again. He might have had a chance to cycle out in front of Edwards, but now he has no chance, and he'll be a lap down. Well, those are not the mistakes you can make if you want to win a championship. Junior getting up to speed down on the bottom of the racetrack. Brian Rodriguez, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it wasn't Harvick and Boyer. Boyer and Burton were the two answers. At least it's not a pass-through penalty like it'd be in real life today. Still costly penalty, though. And the problem is now we only have 78 laps to go. We're getting down towards the end of this one. There's a chance Dale Jr. can make it on just one more stop and make it a 5-stop race today. Those 2 cautions might just be enough to do so. Everybody else is still going to have to pit 2 more times at least. Dale Jr. might be able to make it on 1. Really has to hope it stays green long enough. Continue to manage those tires as well as he has so far today. Mike Bliss in the 0 car is closing in. What a rally for him if he is back inside the top 10 right now. Dale Jr. gave up the bottom in the tri-oval. He'll let Bliss go. And he'll draft in line behind the 0 in the hopes of trying to get as much of that time back as possible. Because now he's got some drafting help. I think Bliss was a lap down very early in the race. Well, the problem is if a caution came out now, Junior's a lap down, so he would need the caution to come out after everybody else cycles through the pits, or at least those who are on the lead lap in front of him. I think Bliss, Earnhardt, and Harvick are all going to catch the 40 car of Sterling Marlin next. Hopefully Marlin stays on the outside. He moves down to the bottom in the middle of turns 3 and 4. The 0 checking up just a little bit. Earnhardt gave him a shot. Marlin pulls up right in front of Bliss again. Junior down to the bottom. They'll get around Bliss and Marlin. But they definitely both slowed up a bit. It could have been worse, but wasn't the cleanest way by. And now we'll alternate through the different camera angles again. Dale Jr. going to stay wide in the middle of turns 1 and 2. He's going to let the 0 of Bliss get back down underneath him again. And Bliss is all clear. Bad enough Sterling Marlin's down a cylinder. It's another thing that he keeps blocking from top to bottom. You'd think Talladega is the easiest track to hold your line. Especially with the field as spaced out as they are right now, but yet it's very difficult for him. One car just coming out of the pit lane on the bottom of the track looked like Dale Jarrett. Sounds like some of the leaders are on their way in. Mike Bliss is running really, really low in the middle of 3 and 4 without anybody he's trying to pass in front of him, and that is because Bliss is going to pit now. So Dale Jr. just lost his drafting partner with Mike Bliss hitting the pits. Ryan Newman will take over the lead as Carl Edwards is in the pit lane. Michael Waltrip on his way in the 15. Dale Jr. can go about, I don't even know if he can go 78 laps. That's a really long way to be able to make it. He is probably going to need a caution at some point in time to try and get his strategy back, or at least save some laps under the caution and try to make it more feasible. I don't think he's going to make it on one more stop with a caution, which would really hang him out to dry. Cycle well ahead of his teammate Waltrip, who was outside the top 20 when the pit stop started anyway. AC Mears down to the bottom of the racetrack. Kevin Harvick still in the lead lap. Junior's trying to block him. Some of the leaders on their way in this time. Kurt Busch to the inside. Junior goes down to block the 97 and the 48. While meanwhile, the 29 of Kevin Harvick is up high trying to get back on the... around Dale Jr. Jr. kept his momentum up, though, and stayed well in front of the three cars that all went to the outside. I don't know if they made contact or what happened there. They definitely slowed up. Jr. thought about moving up in front of Harvick, thought better of it. Moves back down to the bottom as he tries to hold his line. Newman going to stay out again off turn 4 anyway. Cars coming out of the pits. Sounds like they're 3 wide in the middle of the corner. Kevin Harvick moves down. Looks like Kurt Busch got up into the wall in turns 1 and 2. Not sure if Busch and Johnson might have made contact. What happened there? Dale Jr. slides up in line right in front of the 48 again. Caution is out, and that is going to trap some cars a lap down. Our third caution of the race after the longest green flag run of the day. And it's Kyle Busch, who has flipped in turns 1 and 2. Wild ride for Kyle Busch. After contact with Kyle Petty, who was coming out of the pits. Up on his lid goes the 5. Caution is out. Dale Jr. might as well pit and top off now. There's no way Jr. was in the free pass position. And we have a lot more cars pitting than just Dale Jr. here. And I'm not sure who was on the lead lap, who wasn't. But Jr.'s going to pit. It's going to be 4 tires. He's going to top off on fuel. Kyle died in it. That was a terrible crash for Kyle Busch. Up on his lid, into the outside wall. I would not be surprised if he was done for the day. And even Kyle Petty, for that matter, who got ran into from behind. Might see some debris cautions from the two of them. If not, it's because they're repairing damage or they're both out of the race. I probably could have gotten away with like left sides only because I took right sides only during the last stop. But just trying to go for more grip here, get back on equal strategy. So everybody's pretty much on the same fuel strategy now. Green flag is about to be back in the air. Carl Edwards going to restart in the lead. The goal now, get back on the lead lap as soon as you possibly can if you're Dale Jr. and hope for the best. All the lap cars on the inside of the lead lap cars for the restart as Jr. goes down to the apron to get underneath Shane Meal. Seeing some bump drafting going on. I think Sterling Marlin's in the outside lane right now as everybody's trying to get up to speed. One car without a hood right now. It's like it... Can't tell who that is. Oh, and we got somebody else blowing an engine. Going into turns 3 and 4, it's Ryan Newman, who stacked up the inside, and Dale Jr. just missed 3 cars to the top. As Ryan Newman just blew a motor in the middle of the pack. Look at how far back everybody got spaced out behind him. Junior's got to get through here as quick as he can. Really can't waste any time. He's going for it. Under the 43 of Jeff Green. Squeezes Green up in line behind Riggs. Petty, who's got a lot of damage. Actually, it looks as if most of the damage was repaired on that 45 car. Dale Jr. trying to side draft Brian Vickers, trying to desperately stay in line behind the 44 of Terry Labonte up ahead as well, but I don't think he's going to be able to. And a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing going on up towards the front inside the top 10. Jeff Green trying to help Dale Jr. out. Kevin Harvick to the lead. A couple laps after the restart. That was not a good timing caution for Dale Jr. He needed a yellow, but not while he was a lap down. He needed everything to cycle through first. That didn't happen. And now he's trying to get back on the lead lap, and we don't even know. That could be the final caution of the day because we've only had 3 of them so far. And we only have 63 laps to go. It's guaranteed a one-stopper to the end now, though. With that caution. Shouldn't be any sort of a fuel mileage race. Probably have some drivers pit. Oh, caution's out again. Our 4th of the race. Tony Stewart. And it's going to be debris off the 20 car. I don't know where Stewart got so much damage from, but he's got a lot of damage. I noticed he was without a hood. At least I thought it was him, and it was. And now another piece of the front bumper has come off. Might as well stay out, try to keep the track position. Somebody else has just received the free pass with that caution. Dale Jr. looks to be about the 7th or 8th car lap down still to the restart. And Harvick will be the leader. Green flag back in the air again. Dale Jr. hasn't taken off extremely well in the restart so far. He's trying to go 3 wide to the bottom right now underneath Terry Labonte. One car squeezed in the wall on the outside. I don't know who that was. It might have been Jeff Gordon. It was. It was Gordon. And caution again. Cautions breeding cautions late at Talladega all of a sudden. Our 5th of the race. More debris off Tony Stewart. I don't know how much more debris he can lose, but he's lost more. Now that radiator is exposed. That's something you want at Talladega. Looks like Michael Waltrip's a lap down too. So Junior gained 1 spot on the restart, then got the caution. Green flag back in the air again. And now we're down to just 55 laps to go on the restart. And again, 3 wide to the bottom goes Dale Jr. Taking a spot away from Terry Labonte initially. Trying to stay in the share draft down the back straightaway. Junior's got to get to the front of this pack and get around the leader. Vickers hops down in front of him, plenty of room to do so. Junior's all right with that because Labonte was starting to pull away just a bit. Both the Labontes working together on the outside. 3 wide for the lead at the front of the field. Seeing a lot of debris cautions all of a sudden, although they were both off Tony Stewart. Mayfield out in front, but I think he was a lap down on the restart. Junior gets by Brian Vickers. He's underneath Bobby Labonte. There's only 2, now 3 cars on the inside. 3 on the top. Now Waltrip's a lap down too, so Junior can't really work with the 15 if he's racing him for the free pass spot. He's down low with Kevin Harvick on the back straightaway. Dale Jr. trying to come from a lap down at Talladega. Has to lift. He didn't want to bump draft Harvick in the middle of the corner. Carl Edwards is the leader. 3 wide for second place behind him. Mayfield is the free pass car in the 19. Dale Jr. has a run, goes to the bottom, 4 wide in the tri-oval. Now it's down to 3 wide, I believe. Dale Jr. for the brief moment is in the free pass position into turns 1 and 2, and he slides clear of Kevin Harvick. An aggressive move by Earnhardt. Harvick going to cross him back over to the insides, allowing Edwards to pull away just a bit. Dale Jr. side drafting Harvick. It's a little bit too far behind to try and catch a draft off of Edwards, who is in the lead. Jr. thought about pulling down in front of Labonte, realized there wasn't enough room. 18 car throws a bad block. Nearly squeezed the 8 into the wall. He slowed himself down. I'm not sure if Labonte's on the lead lap or not. We know Harvick and Edwards are on the lead lap, so at the very least, Dale Jr. is in the free pass position. But he'd like to get back on the lead lap, so we have just 50 laps to go this time by. Jr. with a run on the back straightaway. He's going to get by the 29 of Harvick. Is he close enough now to the 99 of Edwards, or did he make the move too early again? Tough to tell. 29 can get behind the 8. That will definitely help Dale Jr. get an even bigger run. Trying to unlap himself. And Jr.'s got a massive run right now as they head into turns 1 and 2. Edwards with a block. Stalls the momentum out of the 8. Jr. looking low. Edwards again blocking the 8 car. Not going to be easy for Jr. unless he has help from behind. It's definitely allowing Edwards to pull away. He knows that 8 car's fast. Edwards 7th in points coming in, after he as well finished outside the top 10. Ended up 16th at Dover, if I remember correctly. Both of Labonte's champions, 3 between the two of them. One of the best runs we've seen Terry Labonte have this season as well, while his brother Bobby's in the chase. .48 laps to go. 47 if you consider the fact Earnhardt's a lap down to Edwards. 47 laps to go for Carl Edwards to try and win and be the 3rd different chase driver to win in the first 3 chase races so far this season. Big run for the 8. Gets underneath of Edwards, down to the yellow line on the back straightaway and into turns 3 and 4. Dale Jr. runs the 99 up into the wall. That's probably not the way he should have gotten it done. He was not clear when he moved up. Both cars made contact. That's going to cost Carl Edwards the lead to Kevin Harvick. But Junior's back on the lead lap, at least for now. So we continue to stay green. Harvick's got a massive run, and Junior's now trying to block the 29. And here comes Gordon. We don't know if Gordon's on the lead lap or not. We know Kevin Harvick is. Oh, Gordon hooks Dale Jr. in front of the pack at Talladega. Oh my goodness, caution's out. I forgot Gordon was a rival. He just turned Dale Jr. middle of the back straightaway. Luckily, everybody was able to get on the brakes in time behind. I don't know how they were able to, but they were. And I wonder if Junior's going to get the free pass for that. I mean, he's going to have to pit regardless, but Gordon just came down, he hooked Dale Jr. He was upset from when Junior got in the back of him earlier when Jeff Gordon checked up because of a lap car coming out of the pits, even though all he had to do was just go to the outside and drive around him. That's why Gordon was upset in the first place. It wasn't even Junior's fault. It was all Gordon 100%, and now he hooked Dale Jr. Looked like the Vickers... Yeah, only it wasn't for the win. As for quote-unquote retaliation by Gordon's defense. Junior Nation will throw beer cans like in... Yeah, back-to-back years. I think Dale Jr. got credited with the free pass when that caution came out because he's at the tail end of the longest line right now. Green flag back in the air. So, yes, Dale Jr. is back on the lead lap once again at Talladega. 52 laps to go. So, if Gordon turned Earnhardt, that was the right thing to do. I guess. It works out for Dale Jr. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage. He's going to have a hard time trying to keep up with the pack with nobody in line behind him, which is unfortunate. Kevin Harvick restarting in the lead. You really, really hope that that damage is not going to be overly costly right now for the 8. It looks like Sterling Marlin is slowing some of the pack down, so this is going to allow Dale Jr. to have a shot to get by quite a few cars. Cars are scrambling right now. John Andretti's down on the apron. Dale Jr. is going way down low. He's picking up a bunch of spots, and he's already back inside the top 25. So Jr. does have drafting help because of it as he's in 22nd, right in line behind Scott Riggs as they try to get by Jimmy Spencer on the inside. Lead pack pulling away after Marlin stacked up the second and third lanes when they were 3 wide on the restart. Nearly 4 wide initially. Junior got the free pass with that last caution. Now trying to make his way back through the field. As long as he's in the draft, he'll be competitive. Doesn't have the gearing right for the restarts right now, that's for certain. Looked like one car might have scraped the wall off turn 4 up ahead. That'll slow down the pack a little more. Middle to the back of that pack at least. Big block by Scott Riggs in turns 1 and 2. $40 laps to go at Talladega. Fuel window is going to open up in about another probably 6 or 7 laps, I'd have to imagine. Give or take. Still a one-stopper to the end. Dale Jr. gonna get underneath Scott Riggs. Not what he wanted to do. Riggs is just not fast enough, it seems like, to keep up with the pack of cars in front of him. 2 and 3 wide towards the back of the pack right now. But I don't think with the damage, Dale Jr. is fast enough either. We're right back to drafting behind the 10. So 6 cautions in today's race at Talladega. 4 of them have come since lap 100. Really since about 78 laps to go in the race. Had 4 yellows. Could steal the win. It'd be a miracle at this point if we came from a lap down to win this race. Never count Dale Jr. out of Talladega, that's for sure. Again, he won the spring race by inches. Maybe an inch. Nice little draft on the back straightaway behind Riggs. He doesn't want to pull out of line too early because he doesn't really have any drafting help behind. So he's going to stay behind Riggs for maybe another lap before he tries to pull out and make a pass. Sterling Marlin's going to shake things up here, especially with this pack mostly stuck together at the front of the field in the top 21, plus a few lap cars that are still in it. Now Earnhardt pulls out a line off turn 4, got to the inside of Riggs. He's got a little bit of a draft off of Boris Said in the 36 car just up ahead. And that time the move was made correctly, it seems, for Dale Jr. as he gets by Riggs into turns 1 and 2. All clear. Can't keep up with Said, but he is going to draft behind the 44 of Terry Labonte. While simultaneously blocking the bottom on Riggs. Labonte going 3 wide down to the inside. Dale Jr. is going to take him 4. 4 wide into turn 3 by Dale Earnhardt Jr. What a move by Earnhardt. Cleared them all. Those are the kind of moves he might have to make if he's going to want to get back in this race. But is he close enough behind Travis Quaffle in the 77? Because I don't believe he is. He's going to need help from behind. He's starting to get a little bit of it. He might need a little more than that. Especially considering a fantasy driver's behind him. Junior going to give up the inside intentionally. We've got some cars pitting. Cars are hitting pit road. The start of green flag pit stops. Boris Said going to move down in front of Earnhardt. He'll be all right with that. Knowing we had a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops once already, I think it'd be risky to short pit if you're Dale Jr. Just in case we get another caution. Not too many cars pitted that last time. The window is likely open to the end. We still have one more field pass left in this race yet as well. Try to get to that as soon as we possibly can. We'll probably wait until after we get through pit stops first, just to be safe. Sterling Marlin, I don't know if he's checking up the lead pack yet or not. It's tough to tell. He could have potentially pitted within recent laps also. Dale Jr. going to stay behind. Boris Said in the 36. Continuously behind him in turns 1 and 2. Said and Earnhardt are gaining quite a bit of time on the pack of cars in front of him. And they're about 5 seconds off race leader Kevin Harvick. Not too terrible in the 16th place position. Dale Jr. pulling out a line on Boris Said. Into turns 3 and 4. Makes the pass. Keeps the run going behind Vickers. So he slides up in front of Said as well. That was the right time to make the pass on Boris Said, who is a lap down. That wasn't a pass for position. And I think the 40 car of Sterling Marlin starting to hold the pack up. Everybody is log jammed. Marlin is on the outside. Dale Jr. trying to get through. He's passed a couple cars per position. Jeff Gordon to the lead as well, as Gordon has gotten around Carl Edwards. Couple cars pitting from the lead pack, including Michael Waltrip in the 15 for DEI. .4 seconds is the gap right now. I think they're 3 wide in turn 1, too. I saw a couple shadows on the outside. Boris Sed's in the 3rd lane, and Kenny Schrader was in the 2nd lane. Earnhardt in line behind Schrader, wants a drafting car in front of him. Marlin definitely kind of stacked these guys up and spread them apart a little bit, because Dale Jr. was 5 seconds off the lead. Now he's 5.9 seconds back. Cars are going to be pitting again, this time by. Eighth of a tank of fuel left for Dale Jr. He's probably not going to be able to go too much further. 30 laps to go at the line. It's all that separates this race from the checkered flag. Will we have another classic side-by-side, potentially 3-wide Talladega finish like we had here in our first race in the spring? Junior pulling out of line on Schrader. He knows he's too far behind the cars in front of him. He pulled out early because he's going to pit this time. So Dale Jr. will pit. And it is going to be a fuel-only stop for the 8. Fuel only. Can't speed. He locks the tires up. That's going to wear those tires out quite a bit, but he tried to get as much time as he could. Not going to repair any damage either. That's it. Topping off on fuel, and that will be it for Dale Jr. It's a fuel-only stop. He was about 5.9 seconds off the lead when he took the left-hand turn to the pits. No mistake on the stop. So get the second can in, and away goes Earnhardt. There's Bobby Labonte right in front of him coming out of the pit lane as well, so Dale Jr. is going to have a drafting partner. And actually may get up to speed before the 18 car. He's going to try to blow around Labonte on the inside through turns 1 and 2. And he passes him. Earnhardt gets around Labonte, getting up to speed. We don't know who the leader is going to be. And will fuel only be the strategy for Dale Jr. that will work? He's going to be on the lead lap with the fuel only stop as well. So if a caution came out, as of right now, it looks like he would be the leader on the restart. Jimmy Johnson, presumably, has just gotten around Bobby Labonte. Dale Jr. going to go up to block Johnson off turn 4 as Earnhardt's just barely still getting up to speed. Up to about 184. Johnson looking low. Dale Jr. going to block there now as well. All the way down to the bottom. Bobby Labonte to the outside. Junior's not going to have a lot of grip left. Remember, he locked those tires up coming into the pits. One car trying to get up to speed on the bottom. That's Ricky Rudd in the 21. Junior will blow by him easily. Bobby Labonte clears to the inside on Dale Jr. Junior has not forgotten. Labonte flipped Dale Jr. back at Dover. Just saying, if it comes down to the last lap. And obviously hasn't forgot what Jeff Gordon did to Earnhardt earlier in the day. Dale Jr. needs to stay with the 48 and the 18. It's going to be hard with nobody behind him and him being on much older tires. Kevin Harvick, Jeremy Mayfield on the bottom. Labonte, Johnson, Earnhardt all cycle in front of those two. He got tight in the dirty air. His car's going to move around pretty freely, though. It's the first time he went fuel only on a stop all day. He'd at least taken right sides or left sides every time. And he's basically going almost 2 entire fuel runs to the end. think they had 56 laps to go on the last restart, so he's having to go 56 laps on tires at old Talladega, the bumpy Talladega. So not quite 2 full field runs, but he's going a long, long ways. About a fuel run in 3/4. Gets by Johnson to the outside, and he's back in the draft behind Bobby Labonte. Pushing Labonte on the back straightaway. Johnson, though, still down low. Junior not clear yet. Labonte stays up high with Earnhardt. Junior holds his line. Labonte now has company down low. Again, Johnson tries to get under him. Labonte throws the block on the 48. Back to the outside in front of the 8 of Dale Jr. Truex is in. Labonte thought about blocking Johnson. Johnson was already there. Sterling Marlin about to get in the way. Junior cuts down to the bottom. 3 wide. Looked like there was some smoke going into 3, like there was contact from a bunch of cars before. Dale Jr. gets by Johnson and Labonte as Sterling Marlin held the outside. Jeff Gordon is the next car right in front of Dale Jr. And Jr. is going to have a drafting partner behind Gordon. Oh boy. Date back to the last caution when Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon, well, primarily Jeff Gordon turned Dale Jr. This is going to be the battle for the lead and potentially the win. And Junior is not going to try to make a pass on him right now. He's just going to draft with Gordon, try to get away from the pack, and these two are going to try to settle it between themselves. We still have one more field pass left, but I'm not even going to do it because I don't want to risk having it this late in the race. I know Truex isn't that far back because I just saw him cycling out of the pits. He might be in the top 10, but I still don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk us taking the field pass and then coming back and Junior isn't with the 24 anymore. Although I do think the AI is competent enough at Talladega with Dale Jr., considering Junior's good at Dega, that the AI itself is good at Dega, that I think he could run fast. Gordon and Earnhardt trying to stay together, though. Tandem racing, basically, right now between the two rivals. Classic Gordon and Earnhardt rivalry at Talladega has reached a new chapter. And all when Gordon turned Dale Jr. in front of the field, and luckily nobody else was collected, leaving both of these cars with decent speed from now to the end of the race. They might be neutral now, but Dale Jr. has not forgotten. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to win this race. Gordon's leading laps. Dale Jr.'s led laps today. I don't think he's going to lead the most. And he might have a shot to if he gets in front of the 24, but he's not even going to risk it. Yeah, I'm not doing a field pass. I'll just do an extra one in the next race at Kansas. The only thing is, are these two cars faster than everybody else that is behind them in a much bigger pack? And will we stay green to the end of the race as well? We've had 6 cautions. If this does go green to the end, it's going to be a 56-lap green flag run. It'll be the second longest green flag run to the race. Through each camera angle for one more lap, and then we'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race. 21 laps to go right now in the UAW Ford 500. Now, there are no Fords, at least inside the top 3. The leaders are probably going to catch Sterling Marlin again at least one more time, if not 2 more times, before the end of the race. That can make or break the finish also. Without a full leaderboard, it's tough to tell exactly how far back Johnson is, and especially the 4th place car back, because it almost looks like Johnson's by himself. Gordon and Earnhardt are on the outside. Junior preferred them to run down low. Remember, Junior has older tires than Gordon, so the pass isn't going to be easy, especially when you consider the fact that Dale Jr. is not going to have any help behind him. So he gets an opportunity, he gets a run, he needs to go for it. Not right now, but I'm saying in the last couple laps of the race at least. Don't want to wait till the final lap if you can help it, but then again, if you think about it, I think 5 to go might be the time, because if a caution comes out with 5 or less laps to go, it could end the race. And you don't want the race to end under yellow without having an opportunity. A couple cars down on the apron of the racetrack right now. Gordon and Earnhardt have been running the outside. So a couple cars that looks like having issues. I'm hoping one of them is Marlin, just so he doesn't get back in the way of the leaders anymore in this race, but I'm not entirely sure that that is probably the case. It's like Scott Wimmer in the 22 is one car on the bottom. I think Sterling Marlin just pitted. And then Boris Said is the other car. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the final 18 laps. I think but Marlin just pit in the 40 that time by. It's gonna buy a little bit more time before Gordon and Earnhardt would catch him. So boring, but kind of interesting. You won't want to miss it, especially if a caution comes out. All heck's gonna break loose. Dale Jr. is fine if he's sacrificing the most laps led for this one reason, because he wants to win. And he feels that this is probably his best chance of getting the win in this situation. He doesn't want to be leading, trying to hold off a hungry pack of cars on very old tires, considering he went fuel only to try to get this track position back. Looks like more cars have potentially caught Jimmy Johnson back there, so keeping an eye on him. Obviously, if the pack starts to catch up, I think Junior's going to make a move. If he gets help from behind him, they'll have a much bigger run on Gordon. It's going to be risky to back up trying to get a run, knowing, again, the tires are just not there for the 8. So long laps at Talladega will be coming to 16 to go this time by. Junior's car is getting a little bit loose in the middle of the corner, but almost like the dirty air is straightening him out just a bit. Feels like the rear is turning more than the front. You can see Sterling Marlin on the track map. He's that one lone car. Gordon ran the bottom the last couple corners. And down to 15 to go at the line. By the time they catch Sterling Marlin, I think they're only going to catch him one more time, because they got around him when Marlin was on pit road last. Obviously, the 40's going to have enough fuel to make it to the end, so he won't be pitting again. .500 miles, Dale Jr. trying to get the Talladega sweep. Who is going to have the better lane, though, to get by the 40 car of Sterling Marlin? Jr. can't afford to lose Gordon now. They're going to have to stick together to get around the 40. And hope that the rest of the field doesn't wreck. Caution! With 14 to go. And that is going to wipe away the strategy Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon had. Rusty Wallace has crashed all by himself. Up and over goes Rusty Wallace into the grass in 3 and 4. Wild ride for the two. Our second flip of the race. First Kyle Busch, now Rusty Wallace. Another single car wreck, but a wild one for Rusty. Oh my goodness. You can't script this. And we are going to have another restart. Our 7th caution of the day. The green flag is going to be back in the air. To the restart. Dale Jr. needs to get by Jeff Gordon and quick. He's going up the middle, 3 wide between the lap cars and Gordon. He can't get by the lappers, but he does in fact get in front of Jeff Gordon. And the lappers of Casey Kane and Dale Jarrett are going to get back on the lead lap. Junior's determined to block the 24 car. He's got the oldest tires in the field. His teammate Michael Waltrip going to get out in front. But Waltrip is pulling away. And if he gets away, Junior can't draft with his teammate as Waltrip's back on the lead lap. Johnson to the outside for the lead. 3 by 3 is the field off of turn 4 behind the 48 car, who now leads the race after wrecking from the lead earlier in the day. 10 laps to go at the line in the UAW Ford 500. Junior with a run, looks low, under Johnson. Johnson with a bit of a block, but he couldn't block Junior all the way to the inside. Junior right in front of Jeff Gordon, splitting the Hendrick Chevys apart. Up the track goes Earnhardt, trying to side draft the 48, and back in line behind him again as Kevin Harvick slides to the outside. Another run for Junior, back straightaway. Into 3 for the lead. Johnson pinches. Waltrip hold back, try to give himself, or at least his teammate, a little bit of a shot. I don't blame him if he's just trying to stay on the lead lap in case there's another caution, though. So I don't even know how many cars are on the lead lap to begin with. Remember, Dale Jr. came from a lap down, got the free pass. But now, when it looked like it was down between him and Gordon, the rest of the lead lap cars are back in it again. Dale Jr. having to stay with Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. 9 laps to go. And remember, 2 points is the separation between Johnson and Earnhardt in the championship right now. And Johnson has probably led more laps than the 8 car today. I don't know if he's led the most. Edwards has led a lot too. 3 wide, back behind him. Gordon trying to get back by Earnhardt again, trying to get underneath the 48. He's trying to side draft him. 8 laps to go for Jimmy Johnson. Junior's having a tough time trying to pass him. Every time he pulls out, whether he has help or not, he cannot get around the 48. Couple more lap cars up ahead of Dale Jarrett, Casey Kane. Junior's got to run. He sways back, forth. Johnson continues to block top to bottom. .48 and 8 on the outside. It looks like Carl Edwards is up to 3rd. And potentially the 3 fastest cars all day are 1, 2, 3. After all the separation and all the strategies in today's race, they have found their way all at the front with 7 to go. Kind of coincidental. Johnson's getting a bit of a run, though, behind the lap cars. That's another reason why Junior really couldn't make a pass on him, is because he's catching the lap cars in a good spot for now. Once he gets behind them, what will he do? Because if he kind of sits in line, he's going to get boxed in. But if he tries to get under him, who's to say that Kane and Jarrett aren't going to try to block? Junior again going low. Side drafts Johnson. Now he drafts off Casey Kane. Kane pulls up, though, right in front of the 48. Junior with a block. He's clear. Dale Jr. to the lead at Talladega. He's trying to draft with Dale Jarrett while Johnson's on the outside alongside Casey Kane. Dale Jr. will clear Casey Kane. Kane's a lap down now. Junior drafts behind Dale Jarrett, 6 to go. And the 48 gets by the 9 of Casey Kane. Jarrett is now holding Junior up. Junior had a big run, and Jarrett blocked him to the outside. Edwards is alongside Kane as well. I don't think Jarrett's got a fast enough car. Junior's got a massive run. He's got the 48 behind him. Dale Jr. trying to keep his car on the bottom, but remember, he's got 4 old tires. Trying to go 56 laps on these tires at Old Talladega. On all 4. Blocks Jimmy Johnson back to the outside. They'll be coming to 5 to go this time by. Jarrett kind of holding up the leaders right now. You get a caution, it could end the race, so you don't want to give up the lead at this point. Dale Jr. the little bump draft to the back of the 88, but that kind of stalled Earnhardt out. Jarrett shaking around. Johnson to the inside for the lead. Harvick moves down behind the 48 on the bottom. Junior doesn't have as much of a run. Late block going into 3. Earnhardt, I believe, is clear on the 48. One car has blown an engine on the inside of the track. It's Scott Wimmer. He's trying to make it to pit road. Wimmer is a lap down as well. At least 1 lap down. Johnson to the bottom is going to take the lead in the tri-oval. Jimmy Johnson back to the lead at Talladega with 4 to go. Johnson, Earnhardt. Harvick trying to get to 3rd. He's boxing Edwards in line behind Jarrett, and Kurt Busch back there in 4th. Don't forget about the 97. 4 chase drivers inside the top 5 looking for the win. Johnson's getting a big gap right now. Could allow Junior to get a run if he has help, but he's got old tires. He's barely closing in on him, but he doesn't have enough of a run. That kind of gets a little tight going into the corner. Hugging that yellow line. Has to be careful not to clip the apron. Junior took a peek, didn't have enough of a run, hops back in line, 3 laps to go. Junior's hoping it stays green to the end of the race. So he has every lap possible to get around Jimmy Johnson. Johnson's starting to pull him a little bit. Junior's not really doing anything to lose ground. He's staying in the gas. Hops back in line, plays it safe for now. Johnson was probably going to get to the bottom and cut his momentum off, but Junior didn't want to have to lift and risk blowing that momentum up. 2 laps to go. These 2 are slowly pulling away from the pack. They might catch Sterling Marlin one more time. With that caution coming out, they might catch him. I think Marlin's the next car up ahead. And that could make things interesting too. Back straightaway right now between the 48 and the 8. As they head for turn 3. Johnson. Down low right now. He's going to check up. Dale Jr. is going to try to go to the outside. He's there. Sterling Marlin moves up. There's contact between the 48 and the 8. Johnson goes for a slide. He saves it. Marlin is still blocking Junior. There's contact. Junior can't get around the 40. And here comes the pack. Oh my goodness. Junior finally gets around Marlin. Big runs coming by Carl Edwards in the 99. Jeff Gordon down to the bottom trying to take the lead. Earnhardt turns Gordon in front of the pack. Oh my goodness, that was not wise. Not a wise idea by Dale Jr. Up and over goes Earnhardt. Biffles up and over. Big crash at Talladega. Everybody stacked up. Earnhardt trying to get Gordon back. And Matt Kenseth is going to win the race. Kenseth wins at Talladega. I think Junior's got a tire down. Sterling Marlin just... oh my gosh. He costed Johnson. They're still wrecking after the checker up here. Unbelievable finish. Matt Kenseth is going to win at Talladega. There were like 2 or 3 cars that flipped in 3 and 4. I think Biffle flipped. I don't know if Gordon went up or over. I know Junior obviously did. Well, another wild finish at Talladega. I'll take you through what I think it's pretty clear. So first off, 2 laps to go. I think we were going into turns 3 and 4. Going into 3, 2 to go. Johnson was leading. Dale Jr. was in second behind him. And they were coming up on Sterling Marlin, who was really slow. Sterling Marlin was holding up. So Sterling Marlin held up Jimmy Johnson and Dale Jr. I was on the outside. Marlin was down low in front of Johnson, but then he moved up in front of me. And when he moved up, I tried to go 3 wide up the middle. In doing so, I about turned Jimmy Johnson. Johnson ended up keeping straight. I don't know where he finished. But anyway, that caused Johnson to lose control. He saved it. We got to the white flag, which means no cautions on the final lap, as you guys saw. Then Jeff Gordon had a run because Sterling Marlin decided to block me into the wall going into turn 1 while he was down a cylinder. I didn't have any momentum. The pack was coming 2 and 3 wide behind me on the back straightaway. I went high. I blocked Carl Edwards. Jeff Gordon happened to be the car on the bottom. Gordon was about to clear me, and I was like, you know what? He turned me earlier in the race, put me in this situation where I kind of had to come back. It was going to be between us before that last caution came out. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to get my revenge, I better do it now. And I turned him in front of the pack. And the entire field ended up wrecking. Poor Greg Biffle flipped. I don't think Gordon probably had a lot of damage in that too. I don't know where he finished. He obviously spun. I hooked him, but unfortunately in hooking him, I think I got clipped from behind. It's the only highlight reel we're getting. Because I spun Gordon, but he was still locked onto my front bumper when he was sideways. And then I think somebody hit me from behind. Which I don't blame them because Gordon was sideways right in front of me when I hooked him. It caused such a bad chain reaction that I got ran into and then I lost control and it was on from there. And I ended up flipping. Oh my gosh. Definitely a wild finish at Talladega, but unfortunately Dale Jr. went from possibly winning this race to finishing 28th. It would have been a guaranteed top 2 finish between me and Gordon if that caution did not come out with 14 laps to go. Matt Kenseth led 1 lap today. It was the final lap after the entire field wrecked in front of him. I don't know where Matt Kenseth was. I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't know where Kenseth was running. But he got to the lead somehow through all that carnage. I'm curious to go back and rewatch that after the stream's over. Because I want to see where Kenseth was if I could see him out of the rear view. I had no clue he was even one of the lead cars. I mean, I had seen Matt Kenseth up at the front of the field all day. It was almost like 2012. Got a couple cars getting turned. Only it wasn't a bad block. It was just an unsuccessful revenge. Oh my gosh. I wonder how many chase drivers that screwed over. Kenseth wins. Bobby Labonte finishes second. His championship hopes continue. He came in. Bobby Labonte came in today. 10th in points, 166 back. If there was one race that was going to keep him in the championship hunt, it was going to be Talladega. He finishes second. Great run for Bobby. He was running top 10 most of the day, too. Mike Bliss finishes third. He was a lap down earlier. Came back, finished third. The wise words of Ryan Preece. Don't do that. They wrecked behind Kenseth. Kenseth won. Yeah, the only difference was Kenseth was behind this and he got through. This was almost like James Buescher at Daytona. This was more similar to that. Only nobody flipped in that one, I don't think, if I remember correctly. Kevin Harvick, he led 29 laps today, finished fourth. I don't know who led the most laps. Jeff Gordon. I spun Gordon. I don't know how he got a top 5 out of that. That goes to show, I think the whole field wrecked. I flipped, so it took me so long to get corrected back in the right direction, or I might have still had a shot at like a top 20, but if I didn't flip, I think I would have still gotten a top 10, considering I turned Gordon and he still finished 5th. Carl Edwards leads the most laps today. He led 77 laps. 10 bonus points for him. Started 6th, finished 6th. Ricky Rudd finishes 7th. Jeff Green 8th. Martin Truex Jr. gets a top 10 for DEI, finishing 9th. And some fantasy driver by the last name of Foster ends up with a top 10 as well. As far as the chase drivers, Kenseth obviously won, then Labonte, then Bliss, then Gordon, and Edwards. So 5 of the 10 chase drivers finish in the top 10. The chase drivers outside the top 10 today would include Jimmy Johnson at 16th, leading 29 laps. Kurt Busch finished 17th. He led 1 lap. Well, actually, I don't know which one's Kurt and which one's Kyle. They both would have had 5 bonus points. I think we literally saw 4 flips today in 3 separate accidents. 2 on the last lap, and then we had 2 others. I'm upset that Gordon still got a top 5. That was such, like, Denny Hamlin, like, that would be what happens if Denny Hamlin tried to get revenge on Ross Chastain again. Like, something like that would happen. Where Chastain would still get a top 5 after getting spun by Hamlin, and Hamlin would end up 28th on his lid. Greg Biffle didn't have a good finish. He ended up 25th. Dale Jr. finishes 28th. 20 laps led. And Tony Stewart was the last finish into the chase drivers. He led 1 lap, finished 31st. 28 cars on the lead lap. Jr. was the last of which... You know, the sad part is, if there wasn't anybody behind me, that would have been a clean turn on Gordon. Like, if that would have been the final lap when it was just us two, he would have went up the track like he did. But nobody else would have been collected because everybody else was far back. Or they would have gotten collected well after the fact. That would have went on to win. I know, I was going to lose regardless. Even if I didn't turn Gordon, I was going to lose. That inside line was zooming. I had 1 lane to block. I blocked the outside. If I would have blocked the inside, Carl Edwards would have won. So, I mean, I was kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't. So I thought that was the best opportunity for me to win, was to get my payback on Gordon for turning me earlier in the race. And it did not work. Scott Wimmer blew an engine late. Sterling Marlin finished many laps down but didn't finish. Kenny Wallace DNF'd, Ryan Newman DNF'd, Jason Leffler, and Mark Martin all DNF'd. So it looked like only 4 DNFs today, despite the fact that we had 7 cautions for 21 caution laps. A massive one on the final lap. And now it's time to see what the points damage looks like. I guarantee Dale Jr. is not the points leader anymore. He came in just 2 points to the good. Ran a solid race through and through. Put himself in the best position at the end. and ended up 28th as a result, unfortunately. Should have doored him instead of turning him. I don't think it would have mattered. Even if I doored him at those high-rated speeds, I feel like one of us was going to lose control. And if I came down the track because of the run Edwards had anyway, Edwards would have gotten by. So I don't think I was going to win the race. If I would have just held my line, I probably would have finished like 3rd or 4th, which is what, in hindsight, I should have done. Well, hindsight's 20/20. I could have just hooked him clean like I did, not get ran into from behind. Gordon goes up the track, I win the race. I hung on him for so long that it gave the pack time to catch up to me, and then I ended up getting turned, as well as Gordon. He went to the hospital with a concussion, yeah. Talk about me flipping all day, and sure enough, I flipped on the last lap. Well, next race is at Kansas. 7 races to go in the chase. A wild finish at Talladega. Tempers will carry over between Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr., I can promise you that. Mike Bliss is the points leader. Take a screenshot of that. Mike Bliss is the points leader with 7 races to go. Don't do this in real life, but yeah. I would highly recommend nobody doing that at Talladega in real life. I don't think they would intentionally like that. You saw the flips. That could have been dangerous if it was a real crash. Look at how tight the point standings are still. Dale Jr. lost 5 spots in the standings from 1st to 6th, but he's only 58 out of 1st. So we're definitely not out of it. We're not that far back. Kurt Busch, 90 back. Biffle, he flipped on the last lap. He's only 92 back. Bobby Labonte finished 2nd. He's 138 back. He's within 1 race again. And Tony Stewart has had 3 finishes outside the top 10 in the first 3 chase races. And Tony Stewart is 161 back, so he's a little bit over it. Top 9 still within 1 race worth of points, and the top 8 are within 92 points still. Talladega did not, I mean, it shook things up, but it did not separate the field as much as I thought. Mike Bliss is the points leader. Excuse me, Keegan, but what? Mike Bliss is the points leader. Yes, you heard me right. Mike Bliss is that guy that I've been told, y'all. I cannot believe Mike Bliss is leading. Well, with that, that's going to end the stream. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys tomorrow for a live race commentary for the Watkins Glen NASCAR Cup Series race. Hopefully you enjoyed tonight's stream. I will see you back and better than ever again tomorrow. 58 points out of 1st for Dale Jr. trying to get him his first title. We did not survive Dover. Well, I mean, we survived Dover and Dega in the sense we finished on the lead lap both races, but we finished outside the top 10 both races. It's time to get back on a hot streak again. The chases caused a lot of drama. Not so much in the first race, but the last 2 races. Drama-filled. Chase implications, championship implications, and I mean, we're only 58 back. We can definitely claw out of it. We have 5 drivers to pass. It's not going to be easy. These guys are consistent. I mean, even at Talladega, we had 5 of the 10 chase drivers in the top 10. And Matt Kenseth, who's 4th in points, won. So, anyone could win. That's also Kenseth's 2nd win of the season. 3 wide at the line for Kenseth in the first Dega race. Finished 3rd by a nose. And in this race, he ends up winning. So Matt Kenseth doing pretty good right now in the super speed. Well, at Talladega this season. Keegan's a true I don't think I choked the win away. Like I said, I was going to lose regardless. You know, if Sterling Marlin wouldn't have threw me into the wall going into turns 1 and 2, I probably would have just ran away with it after the contact with Johnson, but no. Still had to block me into the wall going 150 miles an hour at a track where everybody was going 190 plus. Alright, that's enough rambling. I am signing off for the night. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 2:30, and we'll get to watch some Cup Series racing. Live commentary again tomorrow on the channel.